Thank you for coming. My name is Nikolai. My last name Muravlyanikov. I'm program manager in Skype for Business. I'm working on Cloud PBX. And today we're going to deliver a session on planning and configuring hybrid voice, and I will set some expectations what this session is going to be about. But before, can you raise your hands who knows what hybrid voice is? Who doesn't know? Wow, okay. So who wants to know what the hybrid voice story for Teams will be? No hands, okay, cool. So we're not going to touch on this. So let's start our session probably from a quick intro.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Blanding. I'm a member of the Skype supportability team. I'm a senior program supportability PM. And I'm also a member of the beta technical support team. And I work with our TAP customers, getting feedback and providing that feedback to our developers. And I just want to call out to all of our TAP customers and program participants. Thank you very much for the feedback. It's invaluable in making our products better.
And my name is Nikolai. The special prize goes to someone who can spell my name without any error last name. So it's difficult even for Russians. So I'm a program manager in Office Communication Services Group, and our team delivers telephony services for such products as Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams. Let's talk a little bit, let's set some expectations. So what this session about, why we have it, and how it's different from, let's say, of the similar session we had on Ignite a year ago. This session, we built this session with the mind that, hey, the product is more than 1 year on the market. We have well above 1,000 active deployments, ranging from a couple active users to dozens, thousands of active users. So when we were thinking about this session with Caroline, we decided that we will concentrate more on practical stuff. Practical stuff from what we learned over a year of deployments in Microsoft and with our partners. So comparing to the previous sessions where we were on the stage a year ago, we were theoretically saying, hey, you can do this, you can deploy in this topology, you can deploy in that topology. Now we came with a practical experience. We know how customers deploy. So during this session, we're going to review from practical point of view what hybrid voice means, how it can be relevant to company of different size and different scenarios. We will also go through the typical migration path from, let's say, third-party PBX to Microsoft phone systems based on real examples. We will review, again, architecture, what customers deploy, right? How we designed and what ended up customers deploying. So we'll bring you this experience. Plus, we have Caroline, who has tremendous experience supporting the hybrid voice. So she will share her experience on typical misconfigurations and issues related to these misconfigurations and how to avoid them. So if you deploy it first time, you will be well equipped to do it without or with less errors than other customers. So that's our goals. I will briefly touch, and I know this is a hot topic during the Ignite. I will briefly touch on the hybrid voice options for Teams, but I will not be able to talk to details. We are still working on these options, so I will overview high level, and then we will meet next year, where we will go deeper into hybrid voice options for Teams. So this session is mostly about the current existing hybrid voice options. And there were several hands raised when I asked the question, who doesn't know what hybrid voice is? So I would like to start just from the basic and then go deeper, deeper, deeper. So let's start from the basics, and let's review the telephony options in Microsoft. But before reviewing telephony options in Microsoft, Microsoft is well known for creating their own terms. Let's get on the same page on telephony terminology, common telephony terminology, which is applicable to Cisco, Avaya, whatever vendor you have. So on the picture, I tried to put different telephony elements, and I will, on the next slide, I will actually show you the names before September 2017, names after September, how we call it in Microsoft. But this is just common terminology, just to set the ground rules. So PSTN, Public Switch Telephony Network, it's global network of global interconnected wires, which actually delivers the telephony calls. When you call +1 from UK, you go over your PSTN provider, it goes to this global network and delivers the call. So PSTN network. Then PBX, or phone system, private branch exchange, right? So it connects your phones within your company and provide calling features. When I'm talking about calling features, so let's say you have from PSTN, you have a call incoming, and you want to have a group call or team call, right? So you want several people accept this call or ring simultaneously several people. So this is function of PBX. So PBX provides you switching capabilities, right? Group call, team call, call forwarding, simultaneous ring, calling to extensions, etc., etc. Trunk, it's telephony line, right, which connects PBX to PSTN. Now we can talk about PBX and PSTN. We know those terms. Trunks can be TDM or SIP. If you are talking about SBC, Session Border Controller, it's actually a device which provides you routing and protection for SIP-based telephony. So telephony can be TDM, time division multiplexing, which is old technology and requires a dedicated wire. So that's why I have on the slide, on the picture, TDM gateway, and we see TDM trunk in dedicated wire. Or we have SBC, Session Border Controller. The benefit of SIP is that you can deliver the telephony in the same wire as you deliver IP traffic, right? So it can be over internet or a private connection. And Session Border Controller, it's your firewall plus router, right? It can help you to route the traffic in telephony vaults. And those devices do security, inspect packets on fraud, on DOS attacks, connectivity, they translate different protocols, help you to traverse NAT, interoperability, transcode media, quality of services. And there is very, very good book if you want to know a little bit more about SBC. There are our partners sitting here, Sonos, and they have SBC for Dummies book, and it's available on their stand, so actually. And PSTN gateway is a device that serves as a router, right? You can use it, but it doesn't provide you, in many cases, security, network traversal, etc. So now, as we came on the same page in terminology, let's now take all these conceptions and talk about what telephony options are available in Microsoft currently. We have two separate PBXs. One is on premises, one is in the cloud. Right, so PBX is a device which switching the numbers provides advanced calling features. And if you're talking about enterprise voice, in the enterprise voice, it's our name for PBX in on-premises version of the products. So it's Office Communication Server, Link 2010, 2013, Skype for Business. So Microsoft provides PBX, and the name is enterprise voice. The way how you can connect your telephony trunk, right? It's it should be trunk must be customer provided and connected directly to the servers. We have some certified SIP trunks, or via SBC or PSTN gateway. With Skype for Business Online, we still provide PBX, but now we call it Cloud PBX before September 2017. After September 2017, we just announced we call it Microsoft phone system. So it's again is the gear which switch the phone calls, provide advanced calling functionality, team call, call forwarding, simultaneous ringing, group call, boss admin, a delegation scenario, etc. And with Cloud PBX, we introduced two options for SIP trunks or for telephony trunks. First, it's you can buy SIP trunk directly from Microsoft, right? So you have a PBX or phone system provided by Microsoft. Plus, Microsoft provides you a telephony trunk, right? You just port your numbers to Microsoft if you have existing, or you can acquire new numbers, and you are good to go. The SIP trunk from Microsoft before September 2017, again, sorry for confusion with names, but we are trying to simplify the names. It was Microsoft PSTN calling. On Ignite, we announced that the new name is calling plan, right? So you have phone system with calling plan, meaning you have PBX from Microsoft and trunks from Microsoft. And option 2, you can connect again your own trunk, telephony trunk, via a SBC or gateway, which is paired to cloud PBX or phone system using either a small Skype for Business footprint, and we will go to the technical details of it. Skype for Business footprint, we call it Skype for Business Cloud Connector Edition, or you can leverage your existing pool. So imagine you are existing Skype for Business customer, right? You just want to move users to the cloud and leverage your existing pool just to bring your own telephony connection. This is what we call hybrid voice. Make sense? Important to mention, right? So we just discussed that hybrid voice let you to connect your or customer provided SIP trunk, right? There is one more important functionality which hybrid voice provides. The second value of hybrid voice, it's actually provide interoperability with third-party PBX environment. Think about call centers, right? And we'll go through typical migration path of the customers on the next slide. You can actually interconnect with call centers. Imagine Microsoft cannot provide some functionality in calls which your current call center provides. Very common scenario, it's skills-based routing, right? Microsoft doesn't have it, or whispering when you talk to your agents. Microsoft cannot provide, fine. We can keep call center for these purposes connected via hybrid voice, but move all other users to the cloud. Therefore, saving on the cost of PBX because you moved most of users, you left only agents, right? And once Microsoft, and if Microsoft delivers advanced call centers, you can move other users, right? Also helps to unblock gradual migration, and I will go to the details what I mean gradual migration next slide. And very, very common option to connect analog devices. We still have in many offices analog devices such as elevator phones, overhead pagers, the factory phones, right, which can be explosion protected. I saw a couple of them, right? So, and they still use, as usual, usually they use analog telephony. So just to make this clear, right, so what hybrid voice can do and what does it mean in practical point of view, let's look at, yeah, and this is actually the line which shows that I can deliver voice traffic on net, right, without going to PST network. Let's just go through the typical migration path, right? So this is again from real life examples, how customers migrate from, let's say they have Avaya, Cisco, how they would migrate to Microsoft Cloud PBX and what does it mean for them. Oops. So this is initial point, right? So we have a PBX deployed in Seattle. The PBX actually connected via session border controller to PSTN network, right? And we know all this terminology. Connected via session border controller to a PSTN network. It might be connected directly. I'm just simplifying my life, just not to explain that for migration, you better have SBC or gateway in between. It's connected. The SBC has connectivity, one leg to PBX, one leg to PSTN network. I'm not talking about outbound routes. I'm talking about inbound routes, right? And you have a phone range number, right? You have phone range number from, in this case, +1, 425, 1000, 3000. It all goes to SBC. SBC has a route to send this range number to PBX, right? So the same range number goes to PBX. PBX also might have some analog devices, right? In this case, 2998 to 3000. So PBX actually owns numbers, right? It owns analog devices numbers, it owns user numbers. I especially separated them from call center numbers. And it also has the call center numbers, right, which are 4 call center numbers from the range 2,993 to 2,997. So this is initial set of customers. This is what I see like daily with customers. Some can be more complex, some can be less complex. How to move all of this to Cloud PBX and how to do gradual migration? You actually connect this, the same SBC, right? You pair to Microsoft Cloud PBX or phone system, right? So to do this, you need to deploy either if you are a greenfield customer and never experienced Skype for Business, you just deploy Cloud Connector Edition, or if you are existing customers, you just reconfigure your Skype for Business pool, right? So you reconnect or connected SBC to the cloud. Next, what you would do is actually Next, what would you do? You change voice routing on session border controller and move users, right, to Cloud PBX. By move users to Cloud PBX, it doesn't mean I'm porting numbers, right? I'm just taking these numbers and saying, user A has a number 500, 1001. User B, so therefore my Cloud PBX in the cloud, right, accepts now telephony traffic, which goes to this number. Without populating these numbers in Cloud PBX, it will just reject. So you move the numbers, right? You deploy, of course, Skype for Business client or created the phones. Then what you do, you actually, you create the new route on SBC, right? Instead of, or gateway, right? It can be SBC, it can be gateway. You're actually now saying, okay, instead of sending all numbers to PBX, now let's send it to Cloud Connector and to the cloud, right? So, and again, I put like whole range of numbers. It can be gradual. You can migrate 10 users today, test, validate, 10 users tomorrow, 1,000 users a week after. That's what I meant that interoperability or hybrid voice allows you scenario of gradual migration. Then again, I'm trying to minimize PBX footprint. Some services I cannot get rid of, but some services I can minimize footprint, right? So I can actually reconnect all analog devices to SBC. I can put analog telephony adapters, and both our partners, AudioCoders and Sonos, as part of Skype operational framework, they publish practical guidance how to choose analog telephony adapters and how to connect them. And reconnect the analog devices to ATA. Then you just set a new route on SBC instead of routing analog devices to Cloud PBX or to, third-party PBX. You actually say, okay, now they go to ATA. You remove analog devices from PBX, and at the end of the day, you have only 4 users on previous version of PBX, which are, let's say, part of call center and have skills-based routing, and you cannot move them. But you have all calls going, and you minimize the footprint of PBX, right? So, and usually you save a lot on this, right? Because if you think about a typical company, they have 10, 12 PBXs per country if it's European country or small European country, or if it's US or some big country, you have many more. So you actually remove this footprint of PBXs, move everything to the cloud, and you're saving a lot of money. So this is real practical scenario which works. Okay, so let's talk now a little bit about architecture and traffic flow. And in this section, I also will be describing a new feature which we introduced this summer and we never reviewed it, media bypass. First of all, why do we need to place something on premises, right, to connect to SBC or SIP trunk? There are 2 reasons for this, right? So first, we need to provide mechanisms which will let us to authenticate your SBC, meaning that traffic coming from SBC is trusted by Microsoft phone system. And we have this mechanism only using, and I will talk to this about this slide, the only mechanism we have now, which we're changing moving forward, is we can pair your on-premises edge with our online edge. and I will talk on this in the next slide, and keep media local. Let's talk about this, so how it works, why do we need it, and go a little bit deeper in traffic flow. So pairing. Cloud Connector consists of 4 virtual machines, right, which are scripted, so you actually provide the answer in INI file, deploy them. By deploying the Cloud Connector, one of the line in INI file, you specify from which IP the traffic to this mediation server. So there are 4 VM, I'm showing 2 here. 2 most important, mediation server and edge server. It can be also not Cloud Connector, it can be your own pool, right? In INI, I specify, hey, mediation server, from this IP, the traffic is trusted. And we can use either TCP or TLS. Mediation server now, trust this SBC, mediation server via edge server paired to Office 365. When you deploy Cloud Connector, one of the steps you have set CS hybrid relationship, and you specify where is the trusted edge. Done. Now I configured the trusted relationship between the SBC and the cloud. This is one reason why we need Cloud Connector, right? So I can provide authentication of SBC or gateway to the cloud. The second reason is keep media local. Let's understand this a little bit in media flow, and we will review media flow with media bypass and without media bypass. I just want you to deeply understand this conception, so it will help you to plan thoroughly your firewalls and your environment. Let's go from media flow. On this picture, we have, again, I'm showing out of Cloud Connectors, I'm showing just 2 servers, right? Mediation server and edge server. There might be central management store, there might be Active Directory. So Cloud Connector, or full pool, we use to pair USB-C. SBC paired to PSTN network via SIP trunk, let's say, on the left side. Oops. So the user places a call to number plus 43.161.10.640. What we do, the call goes to Cloud PBX. We do reverse number lookup. Reverse number lookup, actually, what it does, it checks, does that number belongs to anyone in this organization? Because if it does belong to someone in this organization, let's save a cost. Let's save on the cost of PSTN trunk, right? So let's route it using internal IP. Right? And what we see in Microsoft when customers, and you know, for those who are from telephony world, the regular formula when we calculate how much bandwidth you need, right? We usually use 1 to 10, right? So meaning you have 1,000 users, it's likely we will calculate that 100 of them will be in simultaneous calls. When you switch to Skype, right? When you switch to Skype, we see 1 to 10, 1 to 6, we see that this number decreases because we convert the numbers to VoIP calls. And we just don't need this excessive amount of PSTN connectivity. So by doing reverse number lookup, we actually save on the cost of PSTN trunks. So we do reverse number lookup. Then we go to, if this number belongs to someone in this organization, we transfer call from PSTN to VoIP. Transfer call meaning that your user in Skype for Business, right, pick instead of call Skype, call this telephone number, and start ringing all points of presence. If it doesn't belong to anyone in this organization, what we do next? We go and check what voice policy of the user says in the cloud. You can always check it out by get CS online users, select voice policy. And you can see if you have Microsoft calling plan, right, or Microsoft PSTN calling, how we called it before September, the voice policy will say business voice. And it will be routed via Microsoft provided SIP trunk. If policy says hybrid voice, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna check what is the edge associated with this user, right? We can't associate SBC, we only can associate edge. What is the edge of this user? And route this call to that edge server. Edge server route to mediation. Again, we are talking about SIP signaling now, right? SIP is green, media will be red. And then we in SIP signaling, we getting media candidate of SBC, right? 10.10, 11.3. So we get this media candidate, and we send this media, then mediation server, what it does, it checks if client external or internal. This is where media bypass comes to play. If client is external, and the way how we detect if client is external, or internal, on mediation server, we have a special web service which actually client queries and get so-called bypass ID, right? So which indicates us if client can query this service, it can get a bypass ID. That means client is internal. If client is outside of firewall, it cannot query it, meaning client is external. So if client cannot provide us bypass ID, we treat it as external, and we will provide the client. One more thing, if client is internal, we will check the Windows version. So if it's Skype for Business Windows version 78, 70 or higher, then we can do bypass. If not, we cannot. If this condition matches, we provide the direct candidates of session border controllers, right? So we just send the direct candidates of session border controller to the cloud. And media will go, red arrow, media will go to session border controller into SIP trunk. This is the new feature we introduced, media bypass. So we can save on the number of mediation server. Speaking of architecture, we can support up to 500 simultaneous calls on one mediation server, right? If it's not media bypass. If it's media bypass, we state that whatever your, we state that number of clients we can support, right? Depends on number of clients which are not on the supported version, which is 72, 70, 2020. So if you're on Mac client, we don't support media bypass yet. Or if you're on mobile client, again, we don't support media bypass yet. Or users who are outside, drinking Starbucks, participating in Microsoft Ignite, right? Those number of users will define how much how much hardware you need. And depends on company profile, it can be like one server for dozens of thousands of users. What if there is no bypass? If there is no bypass, the situation is simple. So let's say client is not on the supported version, then we provide two IP addresses. One is mediation server IP address, 10.10.11.5, and one external address of edge server. We provide a little bit more. I'm just concentrating here on addresses which matter. We provide those two addresses. The client does connectivity check. Can I reach this IP or cannot I reach this IP? If client can reach mediation server, then the call will go mediation server, session border controller, and SIP trunk, right? And this is case, let's say, if you have Windows client on non-supported version. What if the client external? Now client moved, client or user went to Microsoft Ignite conference. What's going to happen in this case? We will again provide two IP addresses, right? One is internal of mediation server and one is external of edge server. Client will try to check internal IP address of mediation server will fail, and will check the external address of edge server. It will be successful, so media will go from the client to the edge server, to mediation server, and session border controller. So when you plan the cloud or number of cloud connectors or pools, you need to take into consideration if you have media bypass, right? We don't send media traffic, but you calculate number of users you can support based on the A, versions of clients, and B, how many of them will be external or internal. So this is a call flow. Now let's talk about, a couple more architectural things. So cloud connector consists of 4 VM. We can now support up to 16, right, 16 cloud connectors per one PSTN site. PSTN site, it's logical combinations or association of users to particular CCE which are associated with SBC. So imagine I have two slides, Seattle and Amsterdam. I have two SBC, right? So I built cloud connector for, and we will talk about this on next slides. I built Cloud Connector for Amsterdam SBC, and I built Cloud Connector for Seattle SBC. And in my cloud, I'm setting the voice policy, or associate users would be the right word, to the PSTN site, right? I'm saying this user actually is in Amsterdam. Please send all traffic to Amsterdam Cloud Connector, and it will send to Amsterdam Gateway. And the same applies to Seattle. Now let's talk about, so this is basic media flow. It will help, hopefully it will help you to plan, especially because our session is concentrated how to plan and configure, how to plan an architecture of Cloud Connector. So media bypass, just don't forget that you plan the capacity. Don't forget that you need to calculate number of users which are not using media bypass, right? Let's talk a little bit about the real life example. So when we release Cloud Connector, right, or provided connectivity via your own pool, this was our main picture in the mind, right? So Cloud Connector in each location. I have 30 sites, Seattle, Amsterdam, Dublin, and if in each and every site there is a gateway OSBC, you just build a Cloud Connector in each and every location. By the way, you build it redundant, right? So you deploy at least 2 Cloud Connectors. We support up to 16, at least 2 Cloud Connectors per the site. You have 2 SBC for redundancy, and you have 2 different internet service providers for redundancy, right? Because we don't have any other observability option. You need to deploy a observability internet channel. And those 2 SBC connected in 2 redundant trunks to the PSTN network. And call flow, hopefully now it's more clear for you as we went before on the slides of traffic flow. So that works. We can provide high observability, we can provide high availability. The problem with this solution, it's not the best option with customer with many sites, right? Because if you think about 30 locations, 30 Cloud Connectors, each Cloud Connector costs money itself. We don't charge for the software, right? But you need hardware, you need of course, Windows license, Windows Server license for it. It's a little bit expensive. We have a huge help from our partners like Sonos and AudioCodus that can provide SBC and Cloud Connector in one device, right? And sold by a Sonos AudioCodus device. And this actually can reduce the price a little bit, but it's still expensive, and expensive not only in terms of price, it's also expensive in terms of managing, providing high availability, disaster recovery for this. So we've got a mixed feeling, mixed review on this. What we ended up doing in most cases, right? So fortunately, at the same time, there is a trend on centralization of SIP trunks, right? So most customers are doing what they are doing. They're trying to centralize SIP trunks instead of going 200 gateways, right? For the US, they centralize all this SIP signaling, or all this, SIP trunks in 1 or 2 locations in the US, throughout the US. And the same applies for Europe and other countries. So you centralize, you just need couple SBC, and you use your internal wide area network for routing the PSTN traffic from those 1 or 2 data centers, right? And in those data centers, you just deploy Cloud Connector. This actually option, and this is a real example from one of the customers, this option actually helps to, I would say it's the main option for us now. So it helps to save a lot of money on hardware deployed in the branches. So on this picture, for example, you see the branches in Innsbruck, you see the branches in Linz, in Graz, in Salzburg. So actually, I hope Thomas Binder is here. I put these names for him. And before we centralized SIP trunk and deploy Cloud Connector, what we used to have PBX in each and every location. manage it, provide security, provide high availability, provide survivability, right? So what we did in this case, we actually centralized everything in 2 cities. It's Vienna and I don't remember the second city. Centralized everything in one location, substitute 12 different PBXs with a couple of SBC and a couple of cloud connectors. This is case which works for many, many customers, and this is what we see the main scenario for cloud connector now with the big enterprises. It's very cost effective, save on the cost of PBXs and branches. The only one thing you need to make sure that your one connectivity, right, can route the PSTN traffic, because now PSTN traffic, if you see at the red arrow here, your PSTN traffic goes from your PSTN network to session border controller and then to user, in this case in Salzburg. But this is very, very common scenario from real life. It's what we deploy a lot. There are also some countries where centralization of SIP trunks is not available, right? So, and there are several countries in the world where we are trying to get centralized SIP trunk, but not always it's successful for different reasons, regulations, mainly regulations. In this case, we still, in many cases, deploy centralized cloud connectors in one location, but we decentralize SIP trunk. So we keep the local gateways which are connected, let's say, to DDM, right, or SIP in the local country. The only drawback of this scenario that media will traverse 2 times. It will go to centralized CC and then to gateway, which is on this arrow, red color arrow shows the media. This actually helps you to preserve existing connectivity, again, save on the cost of cloud connectors, right? Save on the cost of PBXs, you just keep some gateways there, but it will require you to traverse the flow 2 times. Okay, so with that, I just want to handle to Caroline. So just to sum up my section, so we reviewed the Microsoft telephony solutions. We understand what solution Microsoft can offer you. Understand the call flow and some consideration you need to keep in mind when you plan the cloud connector, especially given like media bypass flow, number of cloud connector. We reviewed the typical scenario where how we deploy cloud connectors. With that, I want to handle to Caroline, who will talk, about typical misconfiguration. Again, we want to keep this session very practical.
Thanks.
Typical misconfiguration, the impact, how to avoid them. And we want to reserve some time for Q&A. Before I hand over to Caroline, for hybrid voice story for Teams, I know there is a bunch of questions about it. So the current story what we have, right, with cloud connectors, with or connectivity via your own server works just great. We have more than 1,000, well more than 1,000 active users, and there are some customers that use it for dozens of thousands of users. But the feedback we are getting, right, hey folks, yeah, your story makes sense, we can connect our trunks, especially we can centralize, we can be aligned with the trends, what's going on in the world, but you still ask us to deploy, right, something from Microsoft, provide its high availability, provide disaster recovery, right? So in order to be onboarded to the cloud. So we hear this feedback, and as we know now after this session, we need cloud connector for 2 reasons, right? Authentication and keep media local. So we actually, for Microsoft Teams, right, and you heard probably yesterday if you were on Mark and Mark's session where he reviewed, Mark Longhorn, he reviewed the architecture of Teams. You know that for Teams we use different architecture. So we use this chance as we're creating a new architecture. We use this chance to introduce elements which will let us authenticate the SBC and keep media local from the cloud, deliver those elements from the cloud. So moving to Teams, we will be introducing the option of direct connect of USB-C to the cloud, so we actually will simplify the story. It doesn't mean that you need to stop deployment or rethink. So all SBC session border controllers from which you can buy with CC edition on it, right? So for example, audio coders, Sonos, right? They will be still, so you can reconnect those SBC to the new core, preserving all your telephony, all your centralization of SIP trunks. I will cover more details on this next year. So I just want to make sure that, I know it was already announced, I just want to make sure that double check that don't panic. So with that, let me hand to Caroline.
Thanks, Nikolai. Okay, so now that you know what your options are, let's take a look at some of the common configuration issues that we've seen from our customers, what the impacts of those are, and how you can avoid them. Before I go forward on those slides, I just want to cover two terminologies that I'll be using on these slides going forward. The first is OPCH, so that's our shorthand for on-premises call handling. And that means we're using Skype for Business Server 2015 as the software on-premise. The second term is CCE, and that's the Cloud Connector Edition, which is the software version that's running on-premise. So we'll cover two types of misconfigurations that happen. The first is during deployment, right? So when we're first setting it up, we see issues that occur. And then the second is during management. So oftentimes you have a partner come in and configure it, they leave, and then time goes on, you need to make changes. And during that management cycle, you might expand your business and make some changes and forget some things along the way. So we'll cover some of those issues. Certificate configuration. It's always the certificate, or at least that's what someone told me. Who here in the room has run into certificate problems that have caused issues with their deployments? Thank you. So it's almost always the certificate. We have a couple of issues that can occur. The first is if the SAN name is missing for supported SIP domains. For Cloud Connector, Nikolai pointed out that we need authentication. The SIP in the SAN is used for authentication. So if a user calls from contoso.com, when it hits that edge server for CCE, we need to have sip.contoso.com in the SAN name for that authentication to take place. We have your back covered here if you use our import tools for Cloud Connector, because we have a check to be sure the SIP is in the SAN name, but it's possible people will bypass that and do it manually if they're Skype for Business administrators and they know how to do it. So I'm not going to look at that one, but the next one we've seen a lot of issues on. Gotten a lot of calls, a lot of escalations from customers who are deploying Cloud Connector, and the certificate chain is not trusted or the key is missing. This is typically due to how they process the certificate. And now let's talk about how that impacts your deployment. So what happens when the certificate fails to be assigned to the edge services? The edge services actually can't start. And this, I'm sure anybody who's done Skype for Business on-premise has run into this before. The Cloud Connector deployment script is actually going to show you that the RTC MR auth service failed to start. And that means the certificate wasn't trusted. We couldn't start those services. So what do? You fix your cert. One of the tips that I share with people is to use DigiCert's Windows utility. I love it, right? I see a smile there. Awesome tool. Install that on your host appliance. Make your certificate request from your certificate provider. Process the response, which means you're going to get a key because you process the response on the same machine, not a different machine. Check the certificate. They actually have a tool that lets you check the chain and the key, and then use the same tool to export the PFX file. And you're good to go. Works 100%. Once you have that certificate that's valid and you've confirmed, the next step is to actually import it. So we've got a commandlet, which we introduced in a later version. We introduced a refinement. The set CC external certificate path with the -import option. And then you give it the actual file path of that new corrected PFX file. It will import the certificate, assign it to the edge services, voila, edge services start, and you're good to go. So firewall and proxy configurations. Second to certificates, we have firewall and proxies. First, First? Okay, it could be first. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong, right? Everything was working perfectly, and then things stopped because somebody in the network team did something to you. I hope there's no network guys here. If there are, I'm sorry. Let's talk about how that impacts your host appliance and Cloud Connector. This is something that's pretty different than any other deployments that you may have done. The host server needs to be able to talk to all of the VMs, and it does that through a PowerShell session. If there is something blocking the communication between the host and the VMs, then the scripts will not run. And we've seen this a lot. This is big. And what we'll see in the Cloud Connector deployment script is that it can't actually connect to the VM. So this is kind of mysterious to people. Why? Why can't it connect? It can't connect because there's something blocking it. In our experience, probably 90% of the time it has been a proxy server. And the proxy server is required. You know, network guys say, that computer has internet access, that computer will have a proxy server. And so when it does, and we don't have the necessary exceptions in place, this is what we see. And how we fix that is we have to add the Cloud Connector management and subnet and corporate subnet. Those are the two IP ranges would be defined in your Cloud Connector configuration file. They have to be added to the proxy bypass list in WinHTTP, and we use NetEsh to do that. And I just want to call out here, I said it kind of fast, we need to do the corporate network switch for CCE v2 and higher, because based on really valuable feedback we got from our customers, the methodology we were using before to connect over the management switch caused some problems, because we would connect to the management switch and disconnect the management switch whenever we needed to do our service checking to be sure we were up, you know, always running. This is our, you know, recovery process. So now we're doing that over the corporate switch, but that caused some failures when customers updated to V2 because they didn't have that in the proxy exception. And the other thing that's important, and I learned this from one of our partner integrators, is sometimes people don't have the IP address range, IP address on the network adapter in the same subnet as the CCE Corp net. And so if it's not in the same subnet, we can't route either. So it's important to be sure that that network adapter that's assigned to the CCE Corp net switch has an IP address range in the same range as the CCE configuration. It could be an alternate IP address because you might have that requirement, but it has to be there. So other things that are missed during deployment, and something, I apologize, I did give them an updated deck because I saw that this morning, but apparently it didn't get fixed. Some things that get missed during deployment are in the 365 tenant configuration. For OPCH, we don't really have quite the same number of concerns because we have a hybrid wizard, but things can still go wrong. What I want to talk about today specifically are things that happen with Cloud Connector. And the first one is when we're missing the mediation, and my severe apologies here. I don't know that I can fix this. Well, I'll talk through it. Slide kind of covered it up. We have a requirement to configure a mediation server setting in Office 365 for Cloud Connector. And the reason for that requirement is that online needs to understand how to route calls to on-prem. And specifically where this comes into play is when we're doing a P2P PSTN call escalation. Had a partner call us up and say, you know, loving Cloud Connector. Our customers are loving it, but they're wondering why you have this phone system that doesn't allow us to escalate calls. We can have a two-party call, but the moment we add a third party to the call, it fails. What's going on? So we told them what happened was they missed this step. We've tried to be clearer and more prescriptive about the guidance. We have this called out in our configuration guide, but it's important to understand if you miss this step, P2P at call escalations will fail. So what we need to do is actually create this hybrid mediation server setting in the tenant, and we do that with a set commandlet set CS hybrid mediation server, and we need to do that for every mediation server we deploy for Cloud Connector. What I've called out here in the bubble that inconveniently obscured the rest of the text is that we can use this commandlet here to confirm. So if you're doing a deployment, the one thing you'll always want to do is run this commandlet to ensure that you have configured your mediation servers for all your Cloud Connector mediation servers that are deployed in your Office 365 tenant. We will also have P2P call escalation failures if the SIP address space is not set to true. So for OPCH, that's really standard operations, and our hybrid wizard will cover that. We need to have that shared SIP address space true, so we have that online knows that we have that split. If we don't have that, P2P call escalations would fail. This is a really obscure one to diagnose because you won't actually get anything on premise to show you the failure. And again, apologies, the bubble hit it before, so I missed the point. In the other scenario, when we forgot to do the hybrid configuration, the hybrid mediation server configuration, you could actually see in a UCAPI log that when we tried to invite the participant to that conference, that we weren't able to find that participant with a 404 error. So your local Skype for Business client would give you some diagnostic clue as to what happened. In this scenario, you'll have no diagnostics. You're sort of going to be winging it. So kind of important to know, it's a little bit obscure, but you need to be sure that your shared SIP address space is true. And that is very standard procedure for hybrid OPCH, but not so much for CCE. And DNS. So we can add that to the list. We all have struggles with DNS. There's quite a few things that can go wrong, and I have called out quite a few of things on this slide that I haven't talked about in detail, and I just want to share now that at the back of the deck in the appendix, which you'll be able to download, I've included the slides showing the impact and the diagnostics and the resolutions for you for your reference. I just really wanted to talk about today the ones that we see the highest level of incidence for. This one is really big. Edge server can't resolve a SIP Federation SRV record. What happens? Inbound calls fail. And why do they fail? So I just want to talk about the flow for a second. You have an inbound call from your PSTN going to your mediation server. So the call's for cblend@microsoft.com. I had to pick myself. I didn't want to pick on Nikolai. So when the inbound call comes and it hits the Edge server now needs to understand how to route that call. So it's going to look up the SIP Federation record. That's how we route calls with the SIP Federation TLS record. If it can't resolve it, because it can't resolve that DNS record, it won't know how to route the call. So that's important. So this fails a lot because people don't have the Edge server set for an external DNS, and they'll have an authoritative zone configured in their internal DNS where Edge is resolving the record. Authoritative zones mean the buck stops with me. So if you have an authoritative zone configured in your DNS, because you added the contoso.com, for instance, zone, for some internal DNS resolution, you have to put every single record that's required in that zone, or lookups will fail. So it's important to do that. With Cloud Connector, we saw a very high incident rate of this occurring, and so we changed our methodology to use pinpoint zones. So that's the other option you have. Your diagnostic on this will be really, really clear. The place you would look is in your server CLS logging, and it will actually show 504 server timeout that we were unable to solve the DNS SRV record. So the last thing I want to talk about is common management mistakes. And these happen even more so than configuration because typically we have partners come in and do the config. But now what happens when we're doing our ongoing management? First on infrastructure. This one hit a very large customer of ours, running quite a fair number of CC in a centralized deployment, which Nikolai had demonstrated. Everything was working perfectly, ticking along. In fact, their experience and feedback with us was, it just works. And so we're really happy. It just works. Next day, we get a crit sit from them. Outbound calling's failing for all of our users. What went wrong? Well, what wrong was they were onboarding more users to Cloud Connector because it was working brilliantly, and they decided to add a new CC to cover their volume. So they added a new CC appliance, and outbound calls started to fail. So what did they miss? They missed updating topology with the information about that new appliance. And we'll go into the details of that on the next slide. The second one that we've run into recently from another large customer was things stopped working and they didn't know why. This one was really tricky to diagnose because what they did was network guys. Remember I talked about the network guys? They decided that their security needed to be beefed up. So they had this really brilliant idea they were going to add deep packet inspection on their external firewall for the edge server. And then everything stopped working. Change host appliance administrator password on CCE. I'm not going into details on that, but just really quick. We encrypt the local cache passwords with the administrative password of the administrative user account who was signed in when CCE was deployed. If that password changes, we can't decrypt the file. So just something to bear in mind. So missing the topology update. Once again, I'm going to Silver Fox after this and having a conversation with that really nice young guy who helped me upload my corrections today. Sorry, I shouldn't even have pointed out the misspelling. So if we miss updating topology, outbound calls are going to fail. And the reason they're going to fail is because the edge server can't reach the mediation server. And the CLS diagnostics information on that will show that the edge server can't route that call. And why? Every edge server in Cloud Connector deployment has to be able to route to mediation servers in that deployment. So it has to know about them. So if I deployed 9 Cloud Connector server appliances and I add a 10th, all of those other 9 need to know about the 10th. And how they know about that is once we've registered that 10th appliance online, we can then run a publish CC appliance on each of the existing 9, and they'll go out to the online, read about the topology that we store in the tenant, update their own topology for the new mediation server, and we're good to go. So we were able to resolve this customer's problem fairly quickly, and everything's running wonderfully again, and they're happy. One more thing to point out, if you ever do a stretch pool, which we don't exactly support, between 2 different subnets, you would also have this issue because we would have problems routing calls between those. The edge would need to have static routes, and we'd also make sure our firewalls, that's 2 homed edge servers, right, from Skype for Business on-prem. Edge server has 2 connections, inbound. Internal needs to have static routes. If you're putting your CC appliances on different subnets, they need to know how to route. And then the deep packet inspection. So really quick on this one, if inbound calls were to fail, outbound calls work. The inbound calls are failing because the edge server, when it's trying to connect to Office 365, can't complete the SSL handshake because the TLS traffic is blocked by our wonderful deep packet inspection. So how you can check that is you can actually browse from the edge server to that URL on port 5061. If you don't get a certificate pop-up, that means somebody's blocking you. And don't call us, call your network guy. Okay, so before I wrap up, and I just have a couple minutes here, so I want to leave time for Q&A. We have common management mistakes with user configurations. This happens all the time. In fact, I had a discussion with some folks internally just this past week where we had a large customer who was, expanding their hybrid voice solution. They had, brand new users online, and they were all a little bit confused. How do I get those users online? Because they're in OPCH. How do I get them enterprise voice? So let's take a look at that, and we also want to take a look at outbound routing. In both of these stories, I'm concentrating a little bit more on OPCH, but there's a little bit of flavor for the CCE on the first one. So we have an OPCH enterprise voice user on-prem. And we say, okay, time to move them online. Everything's working, move them online. Administrator gets a phone call, my dial pad's missing and I'm not getting any inbound calls. Why? They were EV enabled, I gave them a license online, I moved them online, shouldn't it just work? Well, the answer to that is no, if you didn't do everything right. We actually have to take a further step. Our diagnostic on that, on an inbound call failure, will show 404 not found. And why? It's not that the user's not there, but it's that their line URI is missing. Right? And the line URI is missing because what we failed to do was enterprise voice enable them. In OPCH, we'll have the phone numbers on-prem. We'll synchronize those phone numbers to online. But the phone number in the on-prem line URI won't get populated to the line URI until the user is EV enabled. And that's a manual step. So you need to actually run a commandlet, set CS user, and that's interesting, right? Set CS user. Who knew that was an online commandlet? Until, Nikolai, I don't know if you remember, but it was maybe a year? I mean, it hasn't been a long time, so we can forgive you for not knowing it. It wasn't always there. But set CS user is a remote PowerShell commandlet that needs to be run for any OPCH or Cloud Connector user in order to enable them for enterprise voice. So that is the commandlet we have to run. For OPCH, again, that line URI would be populated and synchronized from on-prem to online. For Cloud Connector users, you'll actually also have to set the line URI when you enable them for enterprise voice. And one more thing to note there, that line URI must be in E.164 format or calls will fail. And then finally, really quick, outbound call failures. You move that user, you fix their inbound, and now they say, great, my phone's ringing, but I can't call anybody, and I really need to get that taxi to get to the airport. What did you do wrong now? This is very obscure. There's a CS call voice routing policy, CS voice routing policy, that needs to be granted and assigned to the OPCH user. It's not available through your control panel, it's only available through PowerShell. So you need to be sure that you've configured CS voice routing policies for your OPCH users. It can be a global policy or a user level policy that gets granted to the user. So as a wrap up, Nikolai covered the first few items, understanding our Microsoft telephony options, understanding what our migration path was from an existing PBX system to Microsoft Cloud PBX, or now new terminology phone system using hybrid voice, reviewing that architecture and your various options, which there are quite a few, and then finally understanding some of the things that can happen along the way. Yeah, we're open for Q&A.
Open for Q&A. Any questions?
I don't know who's first, actually.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this option to directly connect SBS stores to cloud for the teams.
It's on our roadmap. We are working on it, no timeline. Yep.
Okay, so there are no details.
No.
Okay, so then
It's
there's
something that we are working on, and I don't have any dates. But this is direction.
Maybe a historical question. Why didn't you enable this scenario before? Why was there a need to actually go for the cloud connector?
We needed to redesign backend. If we were like 2 years back, we were needed to redesign backend, and we just didn't have this understanding how to do this. And now with new backend, we can do.
Okay, so that's a backend thing. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick. Hi, Nikolai. This morning I mentioned a question in one of the other sessions about a TSP raising a concern around an existing deployment we were putting in that SPC with CCE should not be now deployed in any upcoming solutions, and that as a consequence all deployments should include OPCH.
Why?
Exactly, that was my response. But the other thing I want to know as well...
And you said it was TSP?
It was a TSP.
If you can send
I'll
me
have a word with you.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, Is there any likelihood going forward with the roadmap that something along the lines of SBA will be included for
You
office
mean
breakout?
local servability options. So for now, servability we achieve via redundant internet channels, but we are looking into some options, but we don't have any like design plan. We know it's required, so it's on our backlog for investigate, but for now, no.
Okay, thank you.
Now it's redundant internet connections. Go ahead.
I have a question regarding the CCE. My understanding is that it's running on Hyper-V for the time being. Is it planned to support other platforms such as VMware?
If they commit our support to us. So the problem, not problem, right? But the architecture of CCE, we actually rely on underlying virtualizing platform to deliver real-time media. And we can deliver real-time media using Hyper-V platform. Because coincidentally, luckily for us, Microsoft owns both technologies. If we deploy it on some third-party technology, virtualized technology, and rely on media or rely on their stack to deliver media, if they change something, we cannot guarantee. That's the only reason. That's why Hyper-V.
Thank you.
And I see many leaving, so please don't forget to evaluate this session.
Yeah, regarding the migration, when doing large batches of numbers, how can you do that without them being sequential? For example,
There
we have,
are
like,
three options. First, and we are talking about the scenario you have, let's say you want to migrate 20 users from phone range number 1000 to 2000, but these numbers are not sequential, right? It's one number from 1001, one number 1022. Okay, so there are several options. One, of course, you can create voice out per each and every number, right? Which is, SBC have a limit, right? So
Yes.
on number of routes. The second option, which supported by almost all SBCs, is you create the two voice routes, right? Identical, and then you say, hey, before you route to this or that route, go query this attribute in Active Directory. And there are like 12 unused attributes in Active Directory you can use for this, right? So you actually create and say, hey, before you make the routing decision, go query this attribute. If it's A, route to this route. If it's B, route to this route. And this Active Directory, it's cached in the SBC, so you don't query it every time, right? So, and there are like Sonos Audio Codes booth on Expo floor. They can walk you through detailed step, or I can show you whatever, right? And some SBC vendors also provide option to tag routes, so not to query Active Directory, but introducing tags, right? And tags meaning I also have two routes, and I have additional attribute called tag, which is not stored in Active Directory, it's stored here on SBC, but I can assign this tag to the user based on CSV file, which also stored in the SBC. So again, Sonos Audio Codes can help you with more details, so I can more than happy to get. But does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
If I'm right, there is no option to directly connect a SIP line or a SIP trunk to Cloud PBX phone system.
You mean currently? Yeah, you can connect via gateway, you can connect via SBC, or if SIP trunks is supported, so we have a list of certified SIP trunks, right? You can connect it directly to Cloud Connector.
But why do I need a cloud connector in this way?
Because we cannot provide you, or we don't have interface which accepts SIP trunk, right, or SBC. It's on the roadmap for Teams.
Okay, thanks.
So you still need CC to authenticate and keep media local, so it's the same.
Thanks.
The media bypass feature that you mentioned earlier,
Which one?
the media bypass feature, the new feature that you mentioned, do you have to have a Microsoft certified SBC to support it, or is the update for Skype for Business is good enough?
So the question about which SBC supported?
Yes.
The qualified SBC which are on our page.
Okay.
SBC qualified for Link 2013, they support,
Okay.
or Skype for Business, right? They support
Right. So if
media
you're running
bypass.
any third party that
Right,
is not
right. And
supported on
Sonos watching you. Be
Okay.
careful.
Okay, good. That answered my question. Thanks.
So Nikolai, what is the status on call queues for CCE provided numbers?
Good one.
The call queues, we will release them for hybrid voice. We will release them by the end of this year. So yes, if you go to the booth and find Marina Kolomiets, right? Tell her that I gave her name to you.
Be a preview?
It will be released as I know. Talk to Marina. She knows. She will provide you more dates. I know it's in this year. Go ahead.
I have two questions. First one, did I get it right that in order to implement SBC we need to disable deep packet inspection on firewall if they are enabled? This is one. And second one, any plans for supporting SBC in Azure?
For deep packet inspection, we highly recommend we disable this packet inspection on
the edge
on the edge
firewall
file.
for the edge.
Right. And why do you need deep packet inspection on SBC? Because SBC itself, they contain firewall and inspection rules. Like if you look at SBC, some of them even have firewalls from Palo Alto, right, Sonos? Some of them have just fraud protection, DDoS attacks. So usually you don't put firewall in front of SBC. It's already provides this. This is the point of SBC. So we highly don't recommend it, right? So, and the second question was about the
Azure hosting.
voice in Azure. Azure, unfortunately, has not been designed to deliver real-time traffic. So we cannot put them. So if you put SBC in Azure, right, there will be issues with delivering real-time audio. But if you are talking about the business scenario where you want like hosted SBC by someone, right, this is something that we are working on.
No, but why we are talking about the real time? If we put the SBC, we are mostly talking about the signaling traffic.
No,
yeah?
media flows to SBC. Media flows always to SBC. If you look at my slides, media flows always to SBC, and SBC sends to PSTN trunk.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Nikolai, we have another question over here.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That was first.
I don't know who's first. Sorry.
So we are a customer without enterprise voice on 2013.
Okay.
But we do have plans to go to enterprise voice. So we're at a place where, do we go Skype 2015, 2019, or go Teams? So what would you say?
Go Teams. Just kidding.
Go.
I would say the following, right? So there are two options. First, you saw our North Star is Teams, right? So option one, you can wait for Teams and start adopting Teams, right? Currently, let's say for meeting, for chat, and for voice, once we deliver the full functionality in Teams. Option two, you don't want to wait, right? And you still understand that you are changing the paradigm, right? So you're changing the paradigm of delivering services from on-prem to online, right? So then, and you still need, and what you need for either option, Skype for Business on-prem or Skype for Business online or Teams, you need proper network planning, right? You need proper operational procedures, and you just don't want to waste the time. Go to Skype for Business online now, right? With cloud connectors, let's say if you want telephony, and when Teams are ready and you are ready for Teams, right? And Teams are ready for you, because we're saying that feature-wise it will be 1 year at least from now, right? We told this on Ignite. You will just switch the client, and SBC, if you buy SBC now, right? You will just repair it to Teams. So.
But if you take away the CCE part in Teams, then it's an investment that will probably
yes, this is but it will for several years, because you cannot migrate like overnight, right? So yes, this is
So would you say go to Skype 2015 or wait until 2019?
I would say that investments in on-prem version might be bigger than investments in CCE. You need to calculate the business case, right? So I'm talking to customers many times, and we are doing actually return on investments. Some customers says we will stay, some customers still go online with CCE, some customers go to on-prem. It depends on your situation. I would calculate on the paper, right? So what option is most cost effective?
Last question on interoperability wise between Skype and Teams in future? 2015, would you still deliver interoperability on 2015, or is
Define the term interoperability.
just chat sessions between?
Yes.
2015.
Yes.
Okay.
We have time.
Go ahead. And the last question, we are at the time.
Hi. We are an existing client for Skype for Business. So we have quite a lot of offices in different countries. So we're really looking for a voice solution. So apart from the licensing, which we'll have to change, do we need to configure like global connectors on the tenant, or we can go directly and do the configuration at each country level?
I would like to see, so it depends on your layout of the company. If you can stop by the booth, I will be in the booth afternoon in 30 minutes from now until 5 p.m. So if you can draw me what you have, we can probably brainstorm. Okay? Let's do it. And I will help you. Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And afternoon I will be at the booth. So if you have any more questions, please come and ask. Thank you so much.